Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. You ever lose money betting on a horse? I've lost money betting on horses, and I think horses have conspired to not allow me to win when it comes to betting on horses. This is how evil that they really are. They know I'm onto them, so they will never let me win a bet when I place money on horses. I had a really rough weekend when it comes to horses, so I just want to put that out there. Anyway, the Grand Chahi can, bite my bag. Anyway, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. I want to remind you again that I have Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I'd appreciate that. Also, I have Cash App. Use hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Send me money through Cash App. Or you can follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word Wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. Appreciate all the views. I got 7 new subscribers in a weekend. It's kind of unprecedented for my channel. Thank you. Welcome new people, and welcome all, everyone who is returning. Thanks for the kind comments and the unkind comments, because it's still engagement. And to be honest, if it's sufficiently funny, I may pin it, so just keep that in mind. I don't care if you're insulting me as long as it's funny, Anyway, so yeah, that's how you can follow me: social media, Patreon, etc. Please like, share, and subscribe. I also have books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com, or you can follow the links down in the description below. All right, yeah. You probably think, I wake up every day, thinking, I wake up, freaking horses. And you're right, because I wrote that bit about betting on them, yesterday. Today, I woke up and listen, have you ever looked at their frickin' feet? Have you ever looked at a horse's foot? What the hell is that thing? You got a giant toenail, a single giant toenail growing out on the bottom of your foot, and you walk on that? What kind of preternatural hell spawn nonsense is that? What the hell is going on with that horse's foot? That is super freaking weird. And look, you see what that is? That metal stuff that the humans put on the horses? Those are called horseshoes. That's insane. People wonder why people got kicked all the time back when we had to use horses as conveyance. Because you put freaking metal on the bottom of their feet, which is what they kick with. You might as well just give a pair of brass knuckles to a silverback gorilla at that point. You know what I mean? It's not going to be long before the silverback gorillas just starts beating the crap out of everything. They can already rip your arms out. You give a gorilla a pair of brass knuckles, whew, that's a, I don't know, an idea for a comic book, I think. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk about why I hate horses and why I wake up every day thinking about horses. All right, so let's get into talking about the Newsies. EK was so happy when I said we're going to talk about the Newsies. And because he's like, oh, I love that movie. I said, of course you do. I love that movie too. We're intelligent guys, We grew up in that era and we love Newsies. And so, and EK immediately was like, that's Santa Fe? And I was like, yeah, Santa Fe with Christian Bale dancing alone in the streets in the middle of the night in New York City. Some guy probably 3 stories up leaning out the window going, hey, Martha, come take a look at this weird kid in the street dressed like a cowboy doing this weird dance. What? There's no music. What's he doing?
He threw his hat on the ground.
And what's funny is that came out 1992, I think. And so I remember when I watched that, the first time, I was like, why is turn of the 20th century New York seem so weird? Why does it seem like such a weird place? And so I started doing research, even when I was a kid, about what the hell was going on. And so today I want to talk about the politics of Newsies. All right, first of all, you see all those kids, those children, they're working. All right. And the newsboys were the lazy kids of that era. The responsible, money-making kids. They worked in factories and stuff like that. This all happened before child labor laws. All right? And when you talk about Newsies, it's also based upon a real thing that happened in 1899. I'm not going to go too much into detail about what that was about. About lasted 2 weeks in 1899. And a lot of this movie, Newsies movie from Disney, I know, but Disney did good stuff back in the day. All right. It's a big lesson on like labor laws and so forth. So, and like what was going on culturally and stuff like that. All right. And it kind of centers around these two main characters, which is Jack Kelly, which is Christian Bale. That guy, first guy with the cravat. And David, he's the other guy. See, I keep left, right, the other guy over here. And David. And so Jack Kelly, or like what do they call him, Cowboy? Because he's always talking about, oh, my parents are going to send for me in Santa Fe, and then I'm going to go to Santa Fe. He's like, whatever, Cowboy, keep selling those papes, And so, but later in the movie, you find out that like his mom is dead and his dad's in jail, or it's vice versa, or something like that. And so it's just a story he tells people, And he's kind of stuck on these streets in New York, but maybe he can save some money and go to some place like Santa Fe and live a different life. And so, I mean, that's the American dream in many ways. Guy was on his own. But he had his friends. These other people sell papers. And then you have David, and David's a newcomer. You're kind of introduced to him first. He decides to go work selling newspapers because his dad is out of work. All right? And his dad is out of work because he got hurt on the job, and it messed up his arm, so they fired him. Okay? This is the important lessons to be learned about like what is really going on in this movie, The Newsies. It's like there's no workman compensation. If you couldn't work anymore, it's like we don't need you. Boom. No severance, nothing. You got nothing, And that's the point of the movie like The Newsies. Is it's stuff like this that led into modern, law about, like child labor laws and workman compensation and even unions. All right. Now I know what you're thinking. It's like, is Batman pro-union? It's like, no, because of what happens in Newsies when it comes to unionizing. All right, the Newsies, they start getting charged more per paper, but what was his name? William Randolph Hearst? He didn't want to raise the cover price for the end user, so he just started charging the Newsies more. And that's what started this strike, because, they have to pay more and no one else does. So they strike, and what do they have to do? Is like as soon as some quote-unquote scabs come in, which is an apt name for what they're doing, they come in, you either have to join or we're going to kick your ass, And that's the problem with unionizing and collective bargaining, is that often it leads to violence, all right? And it happens in this movie, all right? A lot of people, you look at it as PG-13, mild violence. It's like, here's how mild the violence is. Soak them for crutchy. All right, that way you're even, doing it for crutchy. And it's funny because some of these kids, it's like the kid with buy me less paper, miss, buy me less paper, miss. You got to understand is like how good a salesman that little kid was, how good a salesman Crutchy was. You can sit there and say Crutchy was a nice guy and that's why everyone loved him. Or it could be that, even people who couldn't read would buy a newspaper from Crutchy. I'm going to help out this poor guy on a crutch, because these kids sometimes were excellent salesmen, playing up these things like a poor street kid, buy me less paper, miss, And so, I mean, they were incredible salespeople, but it's still child labor. And so, like, a lot of, like, what happens in the Newsies is a very light take on what is, like, a story basically about, unionizing and why eventually we put it into child labor. And had things available. I mean, as an American, I would say it's better that this kind of stuff happened in the United States so that, we do have more reasonable compensation for, like, if you get your arm caught in a machine in the factory, you get some sort of compensation because, you lost the ability to work because of your work where you were working. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying that unions are a good thing, but I mean, I think that the possibility of unionizing is always a good thing. It can lead to good things like, kids not drinking beer. Because, what's also interesting is like back then, clean water, especially in like New York, must have been really hard to find. clean drinking water. So a lot of those kids were like drinking beer and stuff. It was common, seeing them smoking and drinking beers. You do see some smoking. The older teenagers will smoke cigarettes in Newsies, but seriously, like 8-10-year-old kids smoking cigarettes, on their way to the factory. And I think a lot of it is like because nobody could say if the kid's working hard, he can have a beer at the end of the day, I don't mind. And so we said, instead of just letting kids drink, let's end child labor. I had a hard day. I'm 8 years old, I can retire in another 50 or 60 years. Anyway, so I was also there's the criminal justice system, because when Jack Kelly Cowboy gets caught, that guy who runs that home, that orphanage, he comes into court and he's buddy with the judge, and it's just this expedited. The judge doesn't even look up at him. It's this expedited. Yeah, just move along. This expedited, back channel practices. What do they call that? Is that rear echelon kind of stuff? I don't know. You hear words and you think you understand them, and then sometimes you spit them out and you're like, what the hell did I just say? Anyway, so it's funny because I'm going to be talking about movies today, but it's funny because I would never do a proper review of Newsies because it's clearly a 13 of 13 star movie, clearly. And so I'd just rather talk about these subtle layers or the deep dive on the union history of Newsies, So, yeah, we're going to have to move through the show pretty quickly today. I got important stuff later to do. All right, so let's talk about this movie I watched. I watched these horrible movies, and so now I'm spreading the joy with you. This is called Hardball. I watched. It was a 2001 movie starring Keanu Reeves. And so... why I watched it. Baseball. It's a baseball movie I haven't seen. So I'm going to watch it. All right. And it was okay. I did like Keanu Reeves' character. He was a gambler. He owed a debt, and he in order to help pay it back, he starts he has this friend who has to run this inner city little league team. And so he pawns it off on Keanu Reeves' character for $500 a week. Right, but in the meantime, Keanu Reeves is still betting on everything, like crazy, and even trading sports tickets. He won sports tickets in a bet or something like that. And ended up trading it for pizza for the team and stuff like that. It's all real clever about how gamblers live, and so forth. And the problem is that the movie is really formulaic. It's we got to get a team together. We've got to start working as a team. Except it's Keanu Reeves' accent. We got to start working as a team. Got to look out for each other. Help each other out. It's formulaic in that regard. And yes, they become a team. They become formidable and stuff like that. And then, the most lovable character in the movie gets hit by a stray bullet on the mean streets out here. And it has to take that kind of turn, ruin my whole day because, yes, those things happen and it's terrible. But, I hate it when movies do that. And it's almost like I should have saw it coming. Because it's too formulaic. And too many of these sports movies do that kind of thing. And then, of course, we'll do it for Crutchy. Soak him for Crutchy. And they'll go out and win the championship, without him and in his honor. It was too formulaic, and that bothered me. But I still gave it a fairly high rating because of, even despite how bad it is, because it's still baseball. And it's funny how baseball, even for a gambling addict and for the kid coming from these mean streets, wherever your streets are, the root of it is a love of the game. When Keanu Reeves' character was playing Little League Baseball, he wasn't playing Little League Baseball because he knew he's going to be a gambler one day. He probably would know how to gamble better on baseball. It was because he loved the game. It's because he liked to play the game. And that was kind of the formation. That's like a building block, and gambling's on top of that, hopefully after the age of 18, where you can legally do it in the legal places you can do it. All right. So, and I think that, even a kid who ends up, maybe one of these kids grew up, these kids' characters grew up to be like a gangbanger or something like that and had baseball as a foundation and, maybe made better decisions because of it or something like that, And I think baseball is good in that regard, and that's why I give Hardball, 6 of 13 stars, even though it's so formulaic. All right. Now, the next movie I'm going to talk about is also about another gambler, and it's called, wait for it, The Gambler. Except Mark Wahlberg is the gambler. Number 1, Kenny Rogers, not a single song. Not a single song in this movie.
Maybe that's because he knew when to hold him.
Yeah. Kenny Rogers knew when to hold him. EK, always with the quips and the shorts. Anyway, so this movie, I'm gonna right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you, I gave it 7 out of 13 stars. And the reason I give it 7 out of 13 stars is because it evicted so much emotion from me. And the point of good art is that it evokes emotion from you. And that emotion that it evoked from me was anger. Furious anger. I like Mark Wahlberg as a person. I think he's an okay dude. All right. But his character, I'm pointing the wrong way. His character in this movie, like every single scene, I wanted to smack his face. I wanted to punch him in the face. I was like, what are you doing? This is not how you play blackjack. What are you doing? All right, so get this. He starts out with, like at the beginning of the movie, he starts out with a $230,000 debt to some guy, all right, who runs this casino, this secret casino. He goes in and he's got 10 grand and he changes in $10,000 at the casino, gets one $10,000 chip. He walks in and he spots somebody that you find out later is one of his students because he's a English professor. Look, I know being an English professor is boring. I know it's tough. It's like going over the same books you read thousands of years ago. I get it. That's why I didn't go that route. And I said, I'm not going to go to college, be another boring, English professor turned serial killer out of boredom. It's not like this is what happens in that movie, but he goes in there. He's got one $10,000 chip marker. And he goes right to the blackjack table, puts it straight down on the blackjack. He deals a game. He hits and wins. Okay? He hits higher than I think he should, obviously. All right? And so he doubles it. He lets it ride. Now he's got $20,000, wins another hand. Lets that ride. Deals again, wins another hand. Does it again, wins another hand, but it's blackjack. He gets a blackjack. I'm just like, okay, maybe this guy's lucky. Maybe he's streaky. Okay? But I'm telling you, he kept redoubling his bet until he got a blackjack. And then he got a blackjack, and then he put half his money in his hand and let the rest ride. Lost the next hand. Then he goes over to roulette and puts everything he had left on black. And he loses. It's like, why? You shouldn't be gambling. You apparently don't understand how these games work. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? And so this other guy spots him in the casino, and he offers to play him like one game, like cut to the card. He wins. And the guy, he goes, he's like, do you need me to float you some money? You need me to, and he's like, no. And then like 10 minutes later, he gets in the conversation. It's like, yeah. And he goes fronts him like $50,000. And he already had a conversation with the guy he owns $230K to. And he's like, yeah, I'll get it for you. And so he borrows another $50K from this other loan shark. And he goes to the casino again. And what does he start doing? $10,000 on blackjack. Win, double it. Let it ride. Let it ride. He does the same thing again. It's like, you should not be playing these games because you don't know how to play them. I wanted to smack Mark Wahlberg in every single scene. It was driving me nuts. He loses all that $50,000. He goes to his mother trying to get some money from her. Eventually, after a big argument with his mother, who I think it's Diane Lane in it. Was it Diane Lane? I don't know. I forget. It doesn't matter because he just keeps bothering her. It's like, I need money. Finally, she asks, how much do you need? And he says, $230,000. She gives him $230,000 and he goes to a casino. He goes to a casino. He sits down at the very first table, changes $10,000 and puts $10,000 or $5,000, down. And he gets dealt an 18 and he says, double down. Very first hand, he says, double down. And the dealer looks at him on 18 and he goes, don't stare at me. Just give me the 3. So he doubles down. He gets Delta 3. He wins. He's got a big bag of cash with him, and his girlfriend now, his now inappropriate relationship with the student, is with him, and she's holding the bag of cash, and eventually she just gives it to him because he keeps changing money, because from that point on, he goes on a losing streak and loses $230,000 again. Everyone's calling him. It's like, where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? Eventually he gets a hold of somebody else loaning him money, loaning him another $230,000, John Goodman. And John Goodman's this character is like, I'm going to be serious about this, Long story short, he gets the money and he walks into the same casino again, where he owes the $230K, and the $230K he owes John Goodman. Puts that $230K on black on roulette, wins, pays them both off, and walks away. Still owing his mom $230,000. And that's the end of the movie. You should try to play craps sometime at least, man. Play poker. Pace yourself. Oh, my God. It was the most infuriating movie. And it was funny because, like, a couple weeks ago, I saw that movie 21, which is a great, great gambling movie if you ever watch that. It's just, counting cards is boring. It makes a blackjack feel like a job. And so I watched 21 last week. And so, of course, I've been watching a lot of gambling movies or that have gambling themes. And so at least in 21, I understand the strategy, and everything. It seems like you're actually trying to win. But this guy, holy cow, you do not belong in casinos. And sometimes I wonder if, like, Gambling Anonymous is like, it's just because you've gotten into debt, like $600,000 in debt from borrowing money from people, that you end up going to Gamblers Anonymous, because the anonymous is the more important part of it. We're going to give you a new ID and move you across the country. Gambling is a dangerous thing.
Gamblers Anonymous. We help you remain anonymous.
Yeah.
Keep gambling.
It's more like the Gamblers Witness Protection Program is what it is. Anyway, we can get rid of the images. We've been using some images today. I'm going to go right into the news. I'm going to skip this thing. I'm talking about the writer's strike. But I'm going to go right into the news because I got things to do a little bit later. So, thank you, sir. I can chill for a bit until I get to the happier news stories. When I start laughing more than growling, you can wake up from here now. I don't know. He just ran. He just ran for a while. So. All right. So let's talk about this. What?
I feel great.
Yeah, of course you do. I've done that. I used to run. Now I sit. Oh, you had a couple eggs and now you're eating chocolate? Yeah. What a diet. All right, let's get into the news. All right, Texas mass shooting. Authorities announce additional arrests after 4-day manhunt ends with a fugitive's capture. Yeah, this is messed up story. So authorities said Wednesday that additional arrests have been made in connection with the deadly shooting of 5 people in Cleveland, Texas. The suspected gunman, Francisco Oropesa, I heard it say on the news earlier, and I was like, remember, this is how it was pronounced, and I forgot. He was apprehended in Conroe, Texas, Tuesday evening after a 4-day manhunt. The FBI said he was found hiding in a laundry closet. Even 6-year-olds know that's a good place for hide and seek. Yeah. It's like, do better. You need to hide from grown-ups, dude. You're not hiding from your niece. Sorry. Yeah. Got to laugh keep from crying, I think. At a press conference early Wednesday, Lieutenant Timothy Keene, second in command at San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office, said additional arrests have been made. This is weird, the way he says this. Keene said he would not provide the exact number, saying that the amount is, quote, fluid right now, but not more than 5. Can you imagine, was some reported there like more than 5, more than 10, less than 5? Anyway, there have been several arrests, but I can't go into details on that. So there's probably some people who aided and abetted him. That's what it seems. And so they got to sort all that out of what exactly happened. And then he texted you, and then what happened? No, we need a translator. Bring a translator in here. Seriously. Investigations take time. All right, we know you made this phone call at this hour. It's like, Carlo e 2:30. Sorry, my high school Spanish is failing me. Okay. I'm not going to say his name. You guys know his name. He's in this jail right here. Keene said of Oropesa. I don't think he deserves the glory for what he's done. This is a weird couple phrases from this guy, huh? The situation's fluid. I don't think he deserves the glory. I don't think there's any glory in this. Anyway. Quote, he's in jail for probably having hot breakfast while we're out here talking about it, Keene added. Well, the press conference isn't for him. Keene also would not confirm whether Oropesa's wife was among those arrested. There's like 2 paragraphs with no answers. The Associated Press, citing Montgomery County Sheriff Rand Henderson, reported that Divamara, that's a cool name, Divamara Lamar Nava, that's a cool name, 53, the wife of Oropesa, is among those in custody in connection with the Friday night shooting. Fox News Digital confirmed that Nava and her booking photo are listed in the Montgomery County Jail's roster as of Wednesday morning. When reached on Wednesday morning, spokesperson for the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office told Fox News Digital in an email that no other information can be released at this time regarding the arrest of Oropesa, who is currently in the San Jacinto County Jail. While Nava is jailed in the Montgomery County Jail, the spokesperson declined to give further details and directed all questions regarding her arrest to the San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office and FBI Houston, who are leading the investigation. And the FBI goes, "Don't give him our number." Oropesa's bond will be officially set by the judge on Wednesday morning, so no update, I guess, on this. It is already expected to be $5 million and is determined by the judge to be after the initial arrest warrant for murder. Quote, the people are not telling us very much, Keene said. Anybody who helped this maniac has definitely got some kind of issues as far as I'm concerned. This guy sounds like a weird dude. Keene also defended law enforcement's initial response to the shooting late Friday. The initial calls, as the lieutenant explained, came in from a man firing his rifle on his property. According to authorities and survivors, oh Lord, few people in the neighboring house asked Oropesa to stop since it was later, I guess late in the evening, and a one month old baby was scared and trying to sleep. Keene said that another patrol unit was in the area on an aggravated robbery call. Quote, this is not a rich county. We got 3 deputies on patrol all over to cover this entire county. Keene said, if you're going from North County to Trails End, which is where this occurred at, it's an hour's drive. That's with lights and sirens. We got poor roads. We're understaffed. And welcome to rural law enforcement. This is the way most of the nation is right now. Lord. Quote, they had to leave the aggravated robbery call, which is a serious call. And yeah, but guy shooting. You got 2 bad things going on at once and 1 deputy to do it all. The initial call was somebody firing a gun in their yard. At that point, it wasn't an attack, so the aggravated robbery trumps the guy shooting in the yard at the time. Yeah, that's tough. It's probably tough to make those calls. So he's doing that call, and then another call escalated, so we do what we can with what we have. We have 32 sworn positions, and we're about 6 short. We got 28 jail positions, and we're 11 short. So we're missing half of our jail staff, and if anyone wants a job, we're hiring. Oropesa, a Mexican national, is an illegal immigrant who is reported to be deported 5 times. The deceased victims were from Honduras, with at least some of them were also in the U.S. illegally. Those killed were identified were Diana Velasquez Alvarado, 21, Julissa Molina Rivera, 31, Jose Jonathan Cesarez, 18, Sonia Argentina Guzman, 25, and Daniel Enrique Lasso, 9 years old. Keene San Jacinto County Sheriff Greg Cappers, who has been present for the prior news conferences, was sleeping early Wednesday after working more than 30 hours straight. Let the man rest, yeah. It's a terrible thing that happened, but I think it's good that maybe people are going to start looking at the fact that like all these illegal immigrants coming across the southwestern border. Just the other day, I think that even the Biden administration started sending a few thousand active duty military down to the border to assist with Customs and Border Patrol. So we need to start taking this seriously because even if all of these people involved were illegal immigrants, I sure don't want them dying on our soil because some of the bad ones are still out there. That's the point of having like an immigration and naturalization process, because we screen out the people that, shouldn't be in our country. All right? You go to other agencies and they're like, oh, it's guns everywhere. Guy like that. Do you think he would have had that was a legally bought gun? Do you think he could buy a gun legally? Oh, my Lord. They're an illegal immigrant. No way. There's no way. Right? Anyway, let's go on to the shame of the U.S. Navy. This bums me out. So, U.S. Navy platformed, quote, drag queen influencer to attract youth to the military in a hiring crisis. The U.S. Navy has revealed that it has approached a, quote, drag queen influencer to help persuade new recruits to join the military. Yeoman second, of course it's a yeoman. You didn't even have to put that in there. Obviously, it's a yeoman. Yeoman second class Joshua Kelly, who goes by the stage name Harpy Daniels, announced back in November 2022 that he was the Navy's digital ambassador. Kelly has over 1,300,000 likes on TikTok. So here's the question. Did the Navy do like a polls, like who has the most followers in the entire Navy? And it was this guy. Like, so he's clearly the one qualified to be our social media guy. Anyway, while Kelly's Instagram bio shows that the performer's options are, quote, not endorsed by the DOD or the DON, the drag queen claims to have danced in drag for service officers on a number of different occasions, sharing one video from 2018. He's like 6 foot tall. What the hell? That's so weird. The Digital Ambassador Initiative that Kelly participated in ran from like October 2022 to March 2023 and was designated to explore the digital environment to reach a wide range of potential candidates. Navy spokesperson told Fox News Digital. The reason for the spokesman added was the Navy was navigating, quote, the most challenging recruiting environment it has faced since the start of the all-volunteer force. The spokesperson continued, the Navy did not compensate Yeoman Second Class Kelly or any of the others for being Navy digital ambassadors. Obviously. The pilot has concluded that we are now evaluating the program and how it will exist in the future. The Navy's attempt to increase interest among young people comes from amidst a historic recruitment crisis. A survey from the Ronald Reagan Institute found that only 13% of 18 to 29-year-olds are highly willing to join the military. 25% are somewhat willing, and 26% are not willing at all. Kelly had also posted directly about serving as a digital ambassador for the Navy on Instagram. From joining in 2016 to be able to share my drag experience for my off time with fellow sailors has been a blessing, Kelly wrote. This experience has brought me so much strength, courage, and ambition to continue being an advocate and representation of queer sailors. Quote, thank you for the Navy for giving me this opportunity. I don't speak for the Navy, but simply sharing my experience in the Navy. Hoo-yah, let's go slay, the drag queen added. The controversy over drag queens in the military is part of a broader battle over gender ideology in the Navy and all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. And they talk about other cases where the military is just losing its mind. Losing their minds. Anyway, let's go on to the next story. Yeah, Trump's a dick. Let's be honest. Trump kicks NBC reporter off a plane, slams network as fake news. Get him out of here. All right, so former President Donald Trump reportedly grabbed an NBC reporter's phone and demanded he be removed from his plane after he was asked about a criminal probe by the Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg during an informal press gaggle, according to newly obtained audio. The heated exchange, which is first reported by Vanity Fair, occurred on March 25th, following Trump's rally in Waco, Texas. The leading 2024 Republican contender was speaking with a group of reporters on board his plane when NBC News reporter Vaughn Hilliard suggested that he seemed frustrated by Bragg's investigation. The question seemingly hit a nerve for Trump, who told the reporter not to ask any more questions. I'm not frustrated by anything, Trump replied, according to A recording obtained by the Washington Post. What am I, frustrated? What are you reading, Mad Magazine? I just did a speech for 2 hours. I'm not frustrated by it. It's a fake investigation. We did nothing wrong. I told you that. It's the exact opposite. This is fake news, and NBC is the one of the worst at it. Don't ask me any more questions. I heard you're a nice guy from NBC, but you're not. Trump later added. Nearly half hour passed when Hilliard reportedly tried to ask Trump another question about Bragg's investigation. How do I want to talk to you? You're not a nice guy, Trump said. As Hilliard continued to state his question, a frustrated Trump reportedly grabbed his reporter's 2 phones on the table in front of him and tossed them to the side. Source familiar with the matter told Vanity Fair. In the obtained audio recording, Trump can be heard telling his aides to get him out of here. Let's go, get him out of here, out of here, out of here. The journalists were then escorted away. Washington Post reported. It's unclear whether Hilliard was removed from Trump's plane, but Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung told the outlet that no negative incidents involving reporters ever occurred on his plane. The exchange occurred several days before the former president was indicted and later arraigned in New York City for allegedly falsifying business records related to hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels in 2016. Trump, the leading Republican candidate in 2024, has called the investigation political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. You may be right about that, but you're still a D-bag. You know, it's funny. It's like these quotes from Trump. They're very like easily understood. You know, it's this common way that Donald Trump talks in. He doesn't really use like big words that often, but he can convey a point. And so, but additionally, I think his biggest flaw is his desire for yes people around him, you know, and his ego. You know, he's come out, he's announced his candidacy, and he's been talking trash about Ron DeSantis ever since. And it's like, you need to be talking about, you know, what people care about, you know, and treat like rivals, political rivals who are on the same side, generally speaking, you know, as, you know, respectable candidates. You know, and I'll be honest with you, the more of this Vivek Ramaswamy guy here talking, the more I like him too. You know, in many ways, the conservatives are having an embarrassment of riches when it comes to people who could help lead this country. And to be honest, I'd rather have Vivek or Ron DeSantis as president of these United States. Because Trump is hot-headed. You know, he gets frustrated easily. You know, doesn't mean if he's the nominee, doesn't mean I wouldn't vote for him. But can we get maybe some saner heads to prevail in the conservative movement, please? All right, let's talk about these poor teachers. You know, this is a part of me that wanted to grow up and be a teacher. But no, I don't want to fight teenagers. That's probably where I'd end up. So teachers sound alarm on growing problems in schools, say colleagues are leaving in droves. On Teacher Appreciation Day, 3 teachers told Fox and Friends that the nation's schools are facing growing problems with staff shortages, behavioral issues by students, and moral dilemmas about politics in the classroom. I got spanked in middle school. Maybe we should start bringing that back. All right, this is a quote. I think the biggest issue we're having right now is there's a national teacher shortage. New York elementary teacher Brooke Uten told host Ash Ainsley Earhart. Holy cow. That was like a German poem right there. Anyway, 3/4 of U.S. states now report that they are short on teachers. We have teachers leaving the profession in droves, and I think that puts a lot of stress on the teachers that are in the classroom teaching, who remain. They're not as well staffed, classes are overcrowded, and it's a big stressor on teachers today, she said. The issue of education has become a top concern among voters as Republican candidates are leaning heavily into education as a key issue for the 2024 elections. Polls reveal parental rights, transgender policies, and politicized school curriculums as the key issues. Another teacher on the panel, Daniel Buck, said that the number one reason teachers were quitting is the trend away from discipline in the classroom. Yes. Quote, the number one reason that a lot of teachers are giving for is the behavior in the classroom, said Buck, a visiting fellow at the Fordham Institute and author of What is Wrong with Our Schools. Quote, there's this trend away from discipline, from standard punishments, consequences, and behavior is worsening across the country, and it's affecting everything else in education, including teacher morale. So have you seen all these videos that are like going over the internet about like teachers getting in fights in the room because some students start stuff with them? I'm not the only one who's seeing that stuff, right? Furthermore, school districts across the country are struggling to fill hundreds of open teaching positions that remain in the remaining weeks of the summer before the 2022-2023 school year kicked off. School districts across the country have been struggling with an exodus of teachers since the pandemic, as teachers reported burnout stemming from uncertainty during lockdowns. A survey conducted at the National Center of Education Statistics found that 44% of all public schools report having full or part-time teacher vacancies. A survey published in March of 2022 found that 61% of public schools reporting at least one vacancy cited for the pandemic for the open jobs. Many of the vaccines were due to resignations, not retirements, the survey reported. Rhode Island high school teacher Ramona Bessinger raised concern over teachers being forced to adhere to political ideologies in the classroom, quote unquote. Teachers are forced to adhere to these political ideologies in the classroom and contrary to the personal beliefs or contrary to or what is even right or true. For example, this anti-American content that we're seeing, this anti-girl, anti-boy content that we're seeing. Yes! Bessinger said teachers are being left with a moral decision to make, and many or more are just opting out. Yeah, because you got to make a stand to do what's right. And, you know, it takes a lot of people making a stand to do what's right. All right? I'm sorry. You know, you can't have these kids brawling in class. Certainly not with teachers. You know? You need to keep them safe. You need, like, armed guards. You know, in case something goes down, in case some jackass thinks. And it's funny because, like, once the schools get armed, you're going to need less and less because people will know the schools are armed. It's weird. It's weird how things like that work. Anyway, you know, and this idea, like, this anti-American stuff, this is like, hey, yeah, communism hasn't been tried. Communism hasn't been tried. Let's try it here. Idiots. Yeah, and make it, like, these boys growing up today. I can't imagine where they're being told, like, they're the bad ones when they're being, you're going to grow up to be a man. You're going to be a part of the patriarchy. Your opinion doesn't matter because you have all the power. It's like, no. When everyone's always talking about how powerless this guy is because of his sex and skin color. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I keep getting my check from the patriarchy. All right. That's how I make my living. Anyway, let's get into two happier stories and then I got to get out of here. All right. My right click thing isn't working very well. So here's a weird one. Florida man wins woman's poker tournament. Sparks debate over male inclusion in female sporting events. A Florida man drew ire over the weekend as he entered and won a women's poker tournament at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in the Sunshine State. Dave Hughes, 70 years old, entered the $250 no-limit Texas Hold'em event with a prize pool of up to $17,450. Of the 83 competitors of the tournament that entered, 82 of them were women, and the last one was Hughes. Hughes ended up defeating Diana Kayabatan at the end to take home $5,555, according to Las Vegas Review-Journal. Hughes was allowed to enter the women's tournament as Florida casinos are prohibited from banning men from entering women's tournaments, according to anti-discrimination laws. The newspaper noted that Nevada casinos have a similar rule. The World Series of Poker's ladies event has a $10,000 tournament buy-in, and the women receive 90% discount in hopes of keeping men from entering. A video from Hughes' time at the tournament on Saturday was posted on Twitter. Some players put a bounty on him which rewards as a player for eliminating him. The bounty went unclaimed. Good luck, not really, a woman in the video could be heard saying. The issue of a man playing in a women's tournament has sparked a debate. I love ladies-only poker tournaments. I would have no problem with them having a men's-only, and I wouldn't enter it as I would not qualify for it. Poker Hall of Famer Linda Johnson said via Poker News. I would have no problem if they had a tournament for a 26-year-old motorcycle riding... I would have no problem if they had a tournament for 26-year-old motorcycle riding, mohawk haircut seniors, and I wouldn't enter it because I wouldn't qualify. Quote, I don't think men should play in ladies only tournaments. That said, I think there's a total overreaction to the few men who do enter. They usually are just looking for attention, so why give it to them? Maybe that's why she's a champion. Maybe we should just ignore them and play our best. This is my 2 cents, and you're welcome to your own thoughts on this. Yeah. Well, I like her. Charlie Carroll, a British poker player, also weighed on the issue in a tweet, saying initially that it's hilarious that he won. He pokes fun the idea that anyone can identify as a woman and be allowed to enter women's spaces. Carl continued. It's the real issue that people are taking advantage of in many different areas, including sports, prisons, and changing areas. This has some horrific repercussions. Female inmates being raped in prison, or women's getting destroyed in MMA fights by somebody who spent 95% of their life as a man. It does suck that it comes to the expense of women's only space. I wouldn't do it, even though I probably share the same criticisms. Female only spaces in poker are really needed. Mixed poker can often be absolutely horrendous environments for women to be a part of. Yeah, men get angry when it comes to poker. Quote, the trans issue is a lot easier to handle in poker as the stakes are relatively low. The difference between male and female players is negligible enough so that the incentive for men to join women's spaces isn't really there. But it does speak loudly to the insanity that's playing out on the larger scale. So, are men better at poker? When it's like MMA, I get it. I get that that guy, look at that guy's shoulders. He's going to win, I get it. But when it comes to like a game of poker, it's mind, and like keeping your cool and stuff. Oh, there it is. That's why men are better.
Bluffing, though.
Bluffing. That's what I mean. Bluffing is lying. So women could be equally as good at that, I would think. But the point is like, do you need a men only? Do you need a women's only? Probably. And why not? I mean...
yeah, you wouldn't want any locker room confusion.
There's no locker rooms in poker.
Like, why does there need to be a separation?
I don't know. Anyway, but... You see, people are always wondering, it's like, what are you looking at over there? It's like... so my producer just like stuffed his mouth full of chocolate and had a whole lot to say in the middle of my show. Anyway... Nobody can hear that. Thanks for ruining my show. My point is that, I would think that, women playing, who want to play poker at their pace, because women have a different pace, and plus they want to talk about girl things with other girls. I get it. Same thing with men. And I understand women not wanting to play poker with men because men can lose and like slam the table and it can really scare a chick. I get it. And we can have co-ed ones. Why not? Why is the casino not interested in creating more tournaments to make more money? That's what I mean. But I think that there should be, is there a difference between men and women when it comes to a game of the mind? Maybe. We're different in our brains, the things we care about, the things we focus on. You know what happened? I lost my place. I got to get to the last story, but now I got to open everything back up again. Where was I? Holy cow. Hit back too many times. I don't know. Freaking horse hoofs. I regret putting that at the top of the thread here. All right. All right, this is a goofy one. We'll finish it off with this. So a group makes a giant knitted King Charles III tribute ahead of coronation. Should I read that again? Group makes a giant knitted King Charles III tribute ahead of coronation. Nerds. Oh my God, that looks pretty awesome. So a group of knitters created a unique tribute to King Charles III ahead of his coronation. On May 6th, they always crown kings on my birthday, by knitting a several foot tall statue of his likeness. A team of 29 people used more than 75 balls of wool during a 4-month process to create the figure, said the news agency SWNS. The full display was unveiled to the public on April 23rd, the agency reported. In addition to the likeness of the king, the display also contains a wheelbarrow full of pond life, quote, pond life, a pair of knitted rain boots, and a Regal watering can, said SWNS. Anita Arment, that's You add a P, and that's a whole different word. Anita Armitt, founder of the Holmes Chapel Community Yarn Bombers. Wow. Holmes Chapel Community Yarn Bombers in Cheshire, England. What is this, Middle Earth? Just get me to the airport. Told SWNS that this display was inspired by the King's love of nature. Holmes Chapel is a village located in Cheshire. Yeah, you should look this thing up. It is amazing. It's really good. These nerds, I love nerds. Anyway, King Charles is into ecology and gardening, said Armitt. So we thought, let's add a few garden things in, like butterflies, bees, wheelbarrow, spade with a robin in it, and bumblebees. You said bees twice. Anyway. Those involved in contributing to the elements of the display were not told what they're actually creating. Weird. Why are you keeping that secret? We'd say, do you want to knit a square or an insect or an animal? And privately message them, giving them a pattern to go off of or do it. She said, the parts were then combined to make the display. We're all knitting and crocheting from our own homes, which we still do. Yeah, obviously. People who make something like this probably knit every single day. Armitt founded the Holmes... I got to say this again. Armitt founded the Holmes Chapel Community Yarn Bombers during the coronavirus lockdown. Everybody was feeling a bit miserable and down, so you couldn't get out of the house. So yarn bombing is a kind of street art that involves the creation of art installations out of yarn in public places. What if it rains, though? I think it smell musty after a while. All right, the first project was completed by Holmes Chapel Community Yarn Bombers, was a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II for the Platinum Jubilee celebrations in 2022. Anyway, yeah, so it goes on. They're very nerdy, and they love to knit and crochet and stuff like that. It's when I first clicked on this link, it's like, let's see what these nerds did. Let's see what you did, you knitting nerds. And I was like, that's kind of awesome. That's kind of awesome. It's like, you meet a guy who's nerdy and stuff like that, and he's like, hey, you want to come to my place? Like, I got these comic books you got to check out. I'm trying to get rid of them, actually. Yeah, I'll take a look. Like, what are they? Silver Age? And he's like, yeah, they're Silver Age. Come and take a look at them. And I'd go in his house, and he's not really into comic books. That's why he's trying to get rid of the comic books. But what he's into is He-Man. And so he has this, nerd cave of a bunch of cool He-Man stuff he's got. And I don't like He-Man, but I can appreciate your nerd cave full of He-Man stuff. It's only when it comes to, I'm a big Dale Earnhardt fan. You got a bunch of some guy who drives a car, pictures all over your house. It's like, I don't get that. It's just kind of the same with any kind of sports figure, really. It's like, you don't know that guy. In 10, 15 years, he's not going to be playing anymore anyway. Unless it's like NASCAR, and you can do that for 50 years, I imagine. And so, but I mean, I get it. I get nerdy stuff because I have comic books. You can come to my place. I'll show you my comic book collection, I love talking about my nerdy stuff. And there's plenty of people out there, guys who like wrestling or something like that. I don't get your comic book reading stuff, And so, aren't you a man? Aren't you an adult? People can be jerks like that, but I'm sorry. Nerdy things are pretty cool. And I will say this, knitting is more creative than actually collecting comic books. The creative thing I do is this show, which is coming to an end. This is Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that. Also, you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag ShockMonkeyRadio, all one word. You can follow me on social media at @DonaldSaw. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook at Shock Monkey Radio Redux. And on Instagram at SLRobbins13. I also have books available for digital download. Check the links in the description below. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.